Hi, and thanks so much for stopping by the cdrapps.org website. So this video is going to be basically an introduction to the other tutorial videos on this website. I'm going to be going over a few things such as, what sort of text editor you should use, resources online for learning more about JavaScript, etc., etc. I'm also going to be talking about what I believe is the best way to edit your JavaScript and implement it into Qualtrics, and the format you should generally follow when you're working with these tutorials. So before we begin, just as a reminder for the cdrapps.org website, you just want to click Tutorials, and then scroll down here to find the tutorial that you think is the most interesting for you. And then I'm just going to click on this one. And then you will obviously want to start the YouTube video to hear me talk about the code. And then you want to download the source code for yourself. In this case, it's going to be a Qualtrics survey, a QSF file. And later you're going to import that into your own Qualtrics account so that you can follow along with me during this demo. So before we jump into that stuff, I'm just going to talk about some quick setup stuff first. So the first thing is it's important to actually have a good text editor. For this, you need a text editor that can actually work with programming languages and has a lot of good features. So Notepad is not going to cut it. I recommend, there are like 3 text editors I'd recommend, but if you have a different one, feel free to use it. The first one is Notepad++, is the one that I personally use. So when it comes to Notepad++, the website is notepad, like plus plus spelled out .org. You just want to download the installer and then just install it on your computer. And you could probably just check all the default options, and you don't have to customize it too much. And then once you get it installed, you should be good to go. Some other good text editors you could use, Atom is really commonly used. This is atom.io. And then also Sublime Text is really commonly used by programmers. So if you go with any of these 3, you really can't go wrong. And also, I'm just going to quickly talk about some like JavaScript resources online. So if you are just trying to learn JavaScript, or you're just learning how to program in general, right? You probably want to work through a tutorial. So in the case of this website, or really any other tutorial website, you don't want to work through the entire tutorial, because if you try to actually learn every single feature of a language, that's just going to take way too long. You probably just want to work through the first like 10 or 15 like sections. In this case, like 10 or 15 pages. And then I think, that'll probably give you a pretty good grasp of the basics of the language. And then from there, you could probably just jump into some code, actually like do some work on your own. And then I think that's like a faster way to learn rather than going in with absolutely 0 tutorial knowledge beforehand, or trying to like go through an entire tutorial before you even start programming, right? Another tutorial I like is javascript.info. I think this one's also really well written. It's a nice sort of conversational style, so I like this one too. Okay, so so let's assume you're like ready to go. You know some JavaScript. You want to jump into this demo. So for any technical demo, what you do is you download the source code to your computer. So in this case, I'm going to download this QSF file. I'm going to show it in my folder. So this is my downloads folder. So yep, it's right here. I'm going to navigate to my my browser. In this case, I'm using Chrome, and I'm going to open up my Qualtrics account. So if you do not have your Qualtrics account open, just pause the video and open it now. And then once you do have it open, just hit Create Project here on the main menu, and then hit Create from Existing, this button right here. And you want to click From a File, this button right here, and then choose a QSF file. So here, it opens up my Downloads folder by default. I'm just going to click testsurvey.qsf. I'm going to open that, and then for the project name, it can be whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Technical Demo Test Survey, but the name literally doesn't matter. You can call this whatever you want. And this is just an example. So you're going to hit Create Project, and then it's uploading the file. And there you go. Now you have the Qualtrics survey on your computer. It's the exact same one that I have right here. So the first thing that you want to do when it comes to working with JavaScript is you want to not work with the with Qualtrics's JavaScript text editor. This is actually really horrible. There's just like a lot of different problems with it. So what you want to do is just select all the text here, hit copy, and then open up your text editor. So in this case, I have Notepad, right? Or maybe you're using Atom or Sublime or whatever you want. So you want to open up that text editor, you want to paste your code in here, and then whenever you make changes to your code, you're going to do it here, and then you're going to copy and paste the finished product back into this window here, right? Whenever you want to make changes. So it's a lot easier to do that than to try to work with the Qualtrics like editor for JavaScript. So at this point, you obviously want to like save your work as you're going, and that's another advantage of using this text editor. Like you can actually save your work across different files if you want to. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save up here. Create a folder for yourself to store your JavaScript files, and I'm gonna call this one test. The file type can be .js, right? So test.js. Alternatively, you could just type test.js at the beginning and hit save. Alright, so again, yeah, the file name doesn't matter. Name it whatever you want, as long as it has the .js extension at the end. And you'll see that now that I named it a .js file, a JavaScript file, now Notepad++ knows to color it in a really helpful way. It colors comments green, it colors plain text, or it colors strings gray, keywords are blue, so etc., etc. So then at this point, we can actually step through the code a little bit, line by line, and this is what I'd normally do in any other technical demo. So this first line is obviously just a comment, and then so this line right here, line 4, it just creates a variable using the let command. And then I call my variable, and I set it equal to the string hello world. And then here, line 6 through 8, I declare a function hello world. And this function takes no arguments, and it executes one line. And it executes the alert command, which basically displays a pop-up window for your user, and it gives them this value in the pop-up window. And then finally, now that I declared this function here, you actually have to execute the function if you want to do anything. So I invoke it right here in line 10 by calling hello world. So you'll note that my variable actually is never called in the code as is, and so we're gonna change that in a sec. But first, let's see what this code actually does. So I'm going to go ahead and hit preview. And you'll see that a pop-up window showed up that said hello world, and then nothing else happened, right? So that's exactly what we would have expected this code to do. So let's say you want to make some changes. So here, if I change this and I change it to so I'm changing the value of my variable to the string, and then I'm going to change the hello world function to display this value in the alert, right? So now that I save this code, I save the file in my text editor, I select everything, copy, and then I go over here and select everything here and override it, so I paste it. So now this has changed. So now if I preview, you'll see that this message, it's a very scary message, shows up instead, and your code has been successfully changed, right? So that's the process you want to use for editing code in JavaScript. I think it's just a lot better to use a text editor than it is to use, this horrific thing. Ugh. Okay. One more quick note. I think if you're paying close attention, you might have noticed that two windows pop up here, right? So this is actually like a kind of an annoying thing with Qualtrics. It's probably better to just get this over with in the intro video. But Qualtrics, when you preview a survey, it actually creates two different frames, right? It's almost like you have two different browsers open. You have this mobile window, and then you have your your actual preview window here. So what happens is your JavaScript actually executes in both windows simultaneously. So that's actually super annoying. So be careful when you're programming and previewing things, because things may break in preview mode or do weird things in preview mode that they wouldn't actually do if you're just taking the survey for real, right? Um, so yeah, that's just something to keep an eye out for. So in the future tutorial videos that hopefully you'll be checking out, we're basically just going to be following this same sort of pattern of editing our JavaScript files and then like pasting the text into Qualtrics to make changes. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time.